St. Patrick's Day isn't just about drinking, but I will tell you the story of how I learned to write drinking songs, so you can write your own, or just sing along a little more easily. I also share 17 Celtic bands that you should check out for St. Patrick's Day and learn a green idea for investing in our climate. This is Sci-Fi Pub Songs and Stories number 267. Happy St. Patrick's Day and welcome to Sci-Fi Pub Songs and Stories. I am Marc Gunn. I'm a rhythm and folk Celtic musician living in Atlanta, Georgia, and this is the audio edition of my weekly newsletter. Now, I play traditional Irish and Scottish drinking songs. I also write songs inspired by pop culture, things like Lord of the Rings, Firefly, Doctor Who, and that's why this is sci-fi pub songs and stories. But mostly this week, I'm focusing on St. Patrick's Day. Well, we'll see how it goes. You never know what I'll pull in for this episode. But I do want to start with upcoming shows because I have a whole bunch of shows that are ready to go for this St. Patrick's Day season. It all begins this Wednesday, March 15th. I'm doing an internet concert of St. Patrick's Day music. So you can join me online over on Bandcamp. Go to magerecords.com. You'll find links to all the stuff in the show notes at pubsong.com. Let me just say that, pubsong.com. Go over there. You'll find the show notes to find more information so you can watch my show. The tickets are $20, but if you are a patron of mine, you can save 50%. Of course, if you're signed up to my mailing list, you can also save. So go do that as well. Patronage is how I make a living as a musician. So I really appreciate all of those amazing patrons. I'll talk more about them a little bit later. March 17th, I'm going to be at Little Shop of Stories in Decatur, Georgia, and I am really excited about the show. It is only from 7 to 7:30. It's a very short show, but it is a St. Patrick's Day show that I'm doing with my family, my girls. St. Patrick's Day is my birthday. I was born on March 17th, 1972. I'm turning 51 years old, and I was thinking, what do I want to do on my birthday? A lot of times I do enjoy playing music for my birthday, but this year it's a little bit different. My wife is going to be out of town, sadly. She's got a business meeting, and I was like, well, I really want to do something. I need to take care of my girls, but I want to do something fun. I like to play music, and I've been working with my youngest daughter, Inara. We've been singing songs together, so I thought, why not do a little show with them? So I asked them and they said yes. So we're going to do a very short show over at Little Shop of Stories. And this is great because number one, I get to perform, I get to play with my girls. You can watch it if you want. And I also get to support a local business. We do love Little Shop of Stories. It's a great bookstore in Decatur. And when you buy my CDs, you will support the store as well as my music. So great way to do that. I also have album pens and USBs out there as well. So March 18th, I'll be at Pontoon Brewing in Sandy Springs, Georgia this week. Last week I was in Tucker. And March 18th, I'll be at Ironshield Brewing in Lawrenceville. I do want to point out April 29th, I'm going to be at the Lost Druid in Avondale Estates, and I'm doing a biking show. My goal is to make it very environmentally friendly. So if you are able to carpool with someone so that you don't use too much gas, or if you can bike there, even better. Walk there, great. But if you can't do that, just try to reduce your environmental impact. That's one of the things I want to do for Earth Month. And of course, the first weekend of April, I will be at Sherwood Forest Fair. First 2 weekends of April, I'll be at Sherwood Forest Fair in Texas. So come join me there. And June 3rd through 10th, I'll be doing a Celtic Invasion vacation in County Mayo, Ireland. My friend Mikey Mason likes to point out that the difference between a professional musician and an amateur musician is that the professional works even when they don't want to. They schedule times. They have actual work time to do something. I usually get really quiet when he says that because I don't spend as nearly enough time as I would like doing work. Music work. I mean, I do a lot of times with my podcast, a lot of online promotion and all that stuff, but sitting down to play music has been always very difficult for me. So a couple weeks back, I established Wednesdays as my studio days. Wednesdays, typically when I do my Coffee with the Kilt Father shows, they are online internet concert that I do Wednesday. This year it's at 10:30 a.m., but it's mostly once a month. It's available to everyone, but the rest of the time it's for just my patrons of my music over on Patreon. So that's how I've been doing it. But like I said a couple weeks ago, I decided to change things up, and now Wednesdays are also my studio day, and that means that I'm practicing songs. I'm practicing with my pedals. I have a bunch of pedals that I've started to use at shows, and they need to be practiced with too. So sometimes I'll turn on my amplifier and I'll play with those things as I'm doing work. Sometimes I will go into the studio and actually start recording stuff, which is something also I haven't made time to do. And thus far, it's worked out pretty darn good. It's not a 100% great situation, but I've had some great weeks where I would sit down and I would just spend the day playing music. I did that this past week rather. And, I worked on a new song. My daughter and I had written a song, and I was like, been meaning to set it to music, figure out the chords and such. And finally I figured out those. I cleaned up a little bit of the melody. We're going to work on it, but I cleaned that up a little bit. It was really good. Reshared and Rose, I had this idea that I want to do a Witcher show, a show of Witcher drinking songs. You have Just Gear, I think the name is, over on the TV show The Witcher. And he's, write these songs. They're very different from most of the stuff I do, but I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to do a drinking song show like that at some conventions, right? And but that means I need new songs to fit into the mold. So I asked Reshared and Rose at the end of 2022, and she sent me a whole bunch of lyrics. I mean, just boom, 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 one after the other. I can't handle it too much. So finally I sat down and worked on one song, and that's coming along. So it'll come together, but it was really cool. I also sat down and did an NPR Tiny Desk concert performance. And one of the things that I've seen this for a long time. They do this competition where they ask musicians to record themselves at a tiny desk, at a desk of any sort, and sing a song, an original song, and of course it has to be unsigned, all this stuff. And my friend Dawn, she said, you should send something to the Tiny Desk, NPR Tiny Desk concert performance thing. And I was like, oh yes, I like doing that. I did it a number of years ago, sang Name on My Soul, and it went well. But then I did this one, and it went even better, but for many reasons, not just the main ones that you think of. So I sat down initially and I recorded myself, videotaped myself playing the song Blink, which I think is a really beautiful song, well written, good story behind it. And I did it and I watched it, and it was okay. But it wasn't anything special. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I should do something special with it, right? So first off, I noticed immediately that the auto harp wasn't loud enough, and I apparently haven't balanced the sound on my mixer in quite a while, because the auto harp was just way too low. So I messed with that through several videos as I was trying to get a good performance. And finally I got to a level that was really good. So step one, good sound. That was awesome. Step two was I needed a better look for the video. Now, my desk, it's a nice desk, but I frequently have a little too much stuff on it, and there's still a little bit that I should have gotten rid of, but I didn't. But I also changed the location of my camera, and so I was trying to figure out how to do that, trying to get the visuals working. Finally, I got it such that it's a good angle. The color grading was nice. Overall, it looked pretty good. But then one of the things that I have typically done is I have a microphone that I'm using right now. And it sits at a good angle in the direction of my camera. But I decided this time to use it as a prop, meaning instead of staring at the camera nonstop, which is normally what I do when I'm doing my internet shows, is I'm staring at the camera and sometimes looking at the computer to see, who's watching the show. But this time I was using it as a prop. And so one of the things when you're putting on a good performance is you need to be able to have a visual movement. You don't want to just sit there. But with a song, a ballad especially, it's kind of hard to just sit there, So, but I also know that when you're singing, there's something called mic technique. And the mic technique is when you were singing softly, you move closer to the mic. And when you're singing louder, you move away from the mic, which is what I just did here. I don't know if it'll show up when you're listening, but that was something I was doing. So when I was singing the song, I was moving in and moving out, and occasionally looking at the camera, sometimes staring intently at the mic. And it made for a much more dramatic, interesting, viewing experience. So I was very proud of that feature. I also set the camera to a wide angle instead of trying to zoom in on me and the auto harp. And that was because I decided to get onto iMovie and edit it, which the one I did in for Name on My Soul many years ago, I didn't do that. And so I zoomed in and I edited that video and it was much more space to do just that. So that was really cool. I think the only problem I had with the video was the microphone is, well, especially with I have a pop screen to keep the P's from disrupting the sound and such, and that's a little bit big. So I got to figure out that aspect to keep it from being so disruptive visually. But otherwise, I think it worked out really well. I'm looking forward to doing my show on the 15th, so that my internet show, St. Patrick's Day internet show, so that I can point that out a little bit better. All right, let's play some music. Next up, this is my song with Jamie Haeuser, Johnny I Hardly Knew Ya. We recorded it on our album How America Saved Irish Music.
Along the road, sweetest I, haroo, haroo. While on the road, sweetest I, haroo, haroo. While on the road, sweetest I, sticking me hand in a drop in me eye. A doleful damsel I heard cry, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Oh, darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Are the eyes that look so mild, haroo, haroo? Where are the eyes that look so mild, haroo, haroo? Where are the eyes that look so mild when my poor heart you first beguiled? Why did you run off from me as a child? Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Oh, darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. Are the legs with which you run, haroo, haroo? Where are the legs with which you run, haroo, haroo? Where are the legs with which you run when first you learned to carry a gun? Indeed, your dancing days are done, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Oh, darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. You having a leg, haroo, haroo. You having an arm and you having a leg, haroo, haroo. You having an arm and you having a leg. You're an eyeless, boneless, chickenless egg. You'll be having to put in a bowl to beg, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Oh, darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. I'm happy for to see you home, haroo, haroo. I'm happy for to see you home, haroo, haroo. I'm happy for to see you home off from the island of Ceylon. So low in the flesh, so high in the bone, Johnny, I hardly knew ya. With your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and guns and drums, haroo, haroo. Your drums and guns and drums, the enemy nearly slew ya. Oh, darling dear, you look so queer, Johnny, I hardly knew ya.
I don't don't get a lot of feedback for this show, but Mitchell Peterson, my engineer, responded when he was editing the last podcast. I did a section called Saying No Even If It's Included, and I said, when I choose fruits and vegetables, I pick the ones that aren't in plastic bags. I get a little grossed out by putting them on the scanner, but then I wash them when I get home. And Mitchell responded, FYI, we have these bags for fruits and veggies at the grocery store, and they are awesome, and you don't need to use the plastic bags or have to put your stuff straight into the basket. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but what a great idea. So thanks, Mitchell. I appreciate you sharing that. I've seen people talk about, little bags that you can buy specifically for that purpose, but I haven't looked into them yet. I did see some. After hearing about this, I did look over at Walmart and I found some, and they were made of some sort of plastic material. So I do need to find some. I want to find some that are like some sort of mesh, that's not plastic. But I'm sure I can find that. I also I was at Pontoon Brewing a few weeks back, and someone said, you know what my favorite thing about Dragon Con is? The lines. And I'm going to let him explain. It was really funny. Here you go. All right, so introduce yourself and then say what you're doing.
Hi, my name is Max McDonald.
And my name is Ian Carey.
And the best thing about Dragon Con
is waiting in line for Marc Gunn.
Firefly drinking songs.
And Hobbit drinking songs.
And Hobbit drinking songs.
Which is even better.
So what is...
Oh, and also just normal Marc Gunn.
What is the coolest thing about hanging out and for Firefly drinks? What is the waiting in line? What is so cool about that? I mean, it's a long line.
It's a very long line, but being at the front with all your mates that you haven't seen in a year and drinking and having a good time and then going inside and drinking.
We play games and we get trash and then we sing.
That's right. Singing is fun.
And costumes.
Fair.
Costumes.
Lots of costumes.
Costumes are fun.
Fair enough. Thanks.
That better be in the podcast.
Hey, if you enjoyed my song, Johnny I Hardly Knew Ya, then you can download it for free. In fact, you can download all of my songs in this episode. Just send an email to pubsong@keltfather.net. Now, if you look at the show notes, it's not going to say the actual URL. It says pubsong@keltfather, and that's it, because this is designed for a podcast listening audience, and I just don't want to get all the spammers combing my website for email addresses. So pubsong@keltfather.net. You will get an autoresponder with a link to download this month's album. You can also subscribe to the podcast if you're not already subscribed. It's quick and easy. And while you're emailing me to get your free EP, you can also let me know what you're doing while listening to this episode. If you have any comments, send them in. You can send an audio recording or you can send text. Again, pubsong@keltfather.net. Oh, and if you want to win a free CD, make sure you sign up while you get that email. Make sure you sign up to my mailing list, because I'm now giving away a free CD at least once a month, though this month I'm doing it a little bit more. And all you have to do is basically respond to my emails when they come in. So go check it out. You could win a free CD. All right, I was over on YouTube, and Jiggy has a new music video, and I love their music videos because it's dancing. It's just dancing. Jiggy mostly does contemporary Celtic music. It's dance music, but it's based on Irish traditional tunes. So I'm going to play for you again, King of the Faeries. It's from their album Translate, and they have a great video of people all over the world dancing to this tune. I don't know how they do this. I don't know if I'm pretty sure that they didn't go all over the world and record all these videos. They must license them or something. I don't know how they do it, but it's fantastic. I love seeing the many cultures coming together and dancing to the music. And of course, there's a brand new one, Fiery Arrow, there's a link to it in the show notes. When we get back, we're going to talk about drinking songs. Here is Jiggy and King of the Faeries.
dum, three-eye, dum, do, the dee-um, the dum, dum.
The story of The Cat Came Back, The Cat's Perspective. Yes, this is about drinking songs, because that is how I learned to write drinking songs, is from this song I wrote called The Cat Came Back, The Cat's Perspective. So first, let me point out, a drinking song isn't about alcohol. It's a song with a fun, easy to sing chorus. Sometimes it's interactive. Wild Rover, for instance, has claps in the chorus. No, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more. Will I be the Wild Rover? No, never, no more. Sometimes when you sing songs, rewrite songs about cats, you forget the original lyrics. Rattlin' Bog and the Unicorn Song have a whole bunch of motions that act out the lyrics, which I find interesting. I don't know them at all, but something to know. Seven Drunken Nights and Big Strong Man have phrases that the audience shouts back at the singer. And these were the songs I was thinking of when I wrote The Cat's Perspective of a famous folk song. So I never liked The Cat Came Back. It was really a cruel song, and I love cats. So I decided to rewrite the song using the melody of The Moonshiner, another traditional song. But I wanted to make it a call and response song, which you find in a lot of these songs. So I added this kaboom and a gurgle, 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 and more to the end of the verses. But when I finally decided to play it live, I had no idea how I was going to do that to get the audience to interact with the song. It's created a very interesting challenge. So I did, eventually I learned how to teach the audience the 5 different responses. And that was lesson number 1. 5 different responses. Crazy. Don't do that. You pretty much need a one response that people can do over and over again. Although, as I've learned with the 7 Drunken Nights, you can over time, you can grow things, but I was at this concert in, I think, Maryland, and I saw the band Keen perform 7 Drunken Nights, and you might have heard and then I called for me wife, hey, wife! Well, there's apparently like a long list of phrases, at least that they use. I don't know if it's a regular thing, but they had this, hey, wife, hey, what? And then they go back and forth after each verse, and so it gets longer and longer. It's really a lot of fun. Any case, I introduced each exclamation before the verse. So again, it was difficult, but it got people involved, and it worked-ish. So, but if you want to write a drinking song, you got to keep it simple. One call and response is best. Teach it at the beginning of the song. Slanchava is a great example. It has a easy to sing chorus, but it also has a super easy call and response. When I say something like, when I sing Slanchava, you shout it back to me. Slanchava! Everyone does it. It works out really well. It's very simple. Sometimes you learn to do something the easy way. With this song, I learned how not to do it, and you live and learn. So the song, of course, mirrors the original song with some of the events that happen in that one, but then again changes them up a little bit, gives the cat's perspective. So I was a crazy cat for many a year. My years are advancing. Now I sleep in my chair. But old Mr. Johnson still wants me to play. If I don't get active, he'll send me away. I'm a yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. If you you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry and I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died. His neighbor ambushed me with shotgun and dynamite. My cat senses warned me, so I put up a fight. I clawed at his cigarette. It fell to the floor. It lit the dynamite as I ran out the door. Kaboom! Just again, the response. I love the response, but works better in a song, not in a live performance. He gave me to a boy with $1 and a note to drown me in the river when we were afloat. I saw the rope come towards me and let out a yowl. The boat tipped on over. The poor boy was drowned. Gurgle, 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 gurgle. He gave me to a man going up in a balloon. I clung to his head. I am no buffoon. The man tried to free me, but then lost control. I stole his parachute as he crashed against the knoll. Kersplat! That one I really like because it has a very cartoon feeling. I have a Roadrunner thing coming into my brain when I sing that verse. He took me to the mill where the meat was ground. He left off the lights so I wouldn't look around. I saw the food processor come closer to me. I jumped to the floor. He tripped bloodily. Crunch. Mr. Johnson, I know you hate me, but I have 9 lives. You haven't even 3. Blessed are the cat lovers, blessed are all kitties. So love me or leave me alone for to sleep. Purr. A lot of fun. All right, let's hear the song in context. This is The Cat Came Back, The Cat's Perspective. It's from my CD, Irish Drinking Songs for Cat Lovers.
I was a crazy cat for many's the year. My years are advancing, now I sleep in my chair. But old Mr. Johnson still wants me to play. If I don't get active, he'll send me away. I'm yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. And if you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry, and I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died. His neighbor ambushed me with shotgun and dynamite. My cat senses warned me, so I put up a fight. I clawed at his cigarette, it fell to the floor. It lit the dynamite as I ran out the door. Kaboom! I'm a yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. And if you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry, and I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died. He gave me to a boy with $1 and a note to drown me in the river when we were afloat. I saw the rope come towards me and let out a yowl. The boat tipped on over, the poor boy was drowned. Gurgle, 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 gurgle. I'm a yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. And if you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died. He gave me to a man going up in a balloon. I clung to his head, I am no buffoon. The man tried to free me, but then lost control. I stole his parachute as he crashed against the knoll. Kersplat! I'm a yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. And if you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry, and I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died. He took me to the mill where the meat was ground. He left off the light so I wouldn't look around. The food processor came closer to me. I jumped to the floor. He tripped bloodily. Crunch. I'm a yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. And if you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died. Mr. Johnson, I know you hate me, but I have 9 lives. You haven't even 3. Blessed are the cat lovers, blessed are all kitties. So love me or leave me alone for to sleep. I'm a yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. And if you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry, and I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died. I'm a yellow tabby, kind of flabby, and I'm coming home. And if you don't like me, then leave me alone. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll sleep when I'm tired. And if you try to wake me, you'll wish you had died.
Sci-Fi Pub Songs and Stories is brought to you by my gun runners on Patreon. If you enjoy this podcast or my music, please join the club. Every week you'll get bonus episodes, download songs, printed sheet music, blogs, or stories from the road. There's a lot of things you can get each and every week. Plus, you get weekly access to my Coffee with the Kilt Father video concerts. So sign up for as little as $5 per month and save 15% with an annual membership. Special thanks to my newest gunrunners on Patreon, Alice M., Carla A., Triscali, and Aiden B. 17 Celtic bands for St. Patrick's Day. I posted a blog recently. It's called 17 Celtic Bands for St. Patrick's Day. And whether you're a diehard Celtic music fan or your interest tends to heat up more around St. Patrick's Day, I got some great bands for you. And I asked Catherine Tully to assemble to write a little bit about 17 bands that I love and that I thought you should know about for St. Patrick's Day. Each of them has earned a special spot in the list because they have something special to offer. So I want you to check them out. And you can hear these bands, again, on the Irish and Celtic Music podcast, largely. But I will play a little bit in a moment. But I'm going to go through the list. Number one on the list is the Gothard Sisters. I love this band. They are out of the Pacific Northwest. And three wonderful women who do contemporary Celtic music. They're really fantastic at traditional tunes, but they now also have incorporated original songwriting and original tunes as well. And it's a very contemporary sound, which is one of the things I love. They do a lot of music videos actually up in the mountains, in their home area too, which is fantastic. Christy Moore, he was my main influences when I started playing music. I got this cassette someone gave me, said, here's a whole bunch of bands, Irish music you should check out. And it had the Irish Balladeers, the Wolf Tones, and some Christy Moore. And Christy Moore songs really struck home. And it wasn't until much later that I really fell in love with his music when I found, just his ballads and some of his political songs, just powerful songs. He writes songs for working people, the working class people, and very Woody Guthrie-esque for Ireland, and he's amazing. Muireann Nic Owley has a gorgeous voice and plays the flute. She's amazing. We saw her on a Celtic invasion of Ireland a few years back in Dingle. She lives down in Dingle, and I included her on my episode, She's Shiny in Port Nabucca, where she tells a story about that. You'll find a link to that podcast episode in the show notes. Jesse Ferguson, I found on YouTube and was so happy when he submitted music to the podcast. He does a lot of YouTube videos of traditional Irish songs. He's out of Canada, and he also hosted one of my episodes of the Irish and Celtic Music podcast. Ed Miller was the person that I fell in love with when I was living in Austin. He's a Scottish singer. He sings songs of Scotland, whether they're new or old. He's got so much history. He has a PhD in folklore. And it's just some great stories and a great storyteller to boot. I highly recommend him all the time. He's just amazing. Occam's Razor, they are out of Seattle. They play Celtic rock, the type that it should be. I guess what it is, I like alternative rock. Well, that's when I got most of my rock base in. It's alternative rock. And they do alternative Celtic rock, basically. It varies quite a bit in styles and such, but it's just spectacular music. And Chris, he joined me on a Pride Month episode of the Irish and Celtic Music podcast a couple years back. So it was great learning about his story and his music. Brad Tuck is also out of Canada and out of Newfoundland, in fact. He used to be the drummer for Shannon Gannock, but now he's singing songs solo. He's got a beautiful voice, and he's just been releasing a lot of music, and I love almost all of it. So it's just great. Go check out Brad. Speaking of Celtic rock, Sire is another band. They are out of South Carolina, and they do a lot of creative stuff, a little bit more Scottish-based Celtic rock, using Scottish lyrics and such, and it's just powerful music. Next up is Heather Dale, who I first found through the song Mordred's Lullaby over on mp3.com. She is a mesmerizing performer. I've had several episodes where I've featured her. I think one of the more recent episodes of the Irish Celtic Music podcast, I have a story from her. You'll find a link to that in the show notes. And you can also, if you're a patron of the Irish and Celtic Music podcast, different from my patron podcast, you can hear her story of Mordred's Lullaby, which is just a magical story. Number 10 is Tartanic. They are bagpipes and drums, and they put on a spectacular show. I found Adrian, the lead singer. He was Robin Hood at the Texas Renaissance Festival many, many, many years ago, and I beat him up really bad. I'll tell you the story about that sometime. But you can hear their own story of how they name their songs on this podcast. Scythian just kind of popped into my radar. I think I found them originally on ReverbNation.com. They were one of the top bands, and I got them to submit a little bit of music. Next thing you know, they've been dominating the Celtic Top 20 these past couple years. And they also play Celtic rock, and it's very American flavored. It's a fantastic stuff. Go check them out. Matt and Shannon Heaton are a husband and wife duo out of Massachusetts. And Shannon hosts the Irish Music Stories podcast, which is just one of my favorite podcasts. She tells stories about Irish music and gets a lot of people. She knows a lot of people in the Irish music community, and she interviews them and puts it all into a very NPR style story. She also shared a story for this podcast, The Shady Spot. Again, final link in the show notes. Jiggy, of course, you heard me play them earlier. Highly recommend them. I just love their music. And even when they're playing acoustic, I saw an acoustic video that they did, and it too was spectacular. Go check it out. We Banjo 3 is another one that's just been blowing up on the Celtic Top 20 every year. Every time I have them on the show, someone says, I want their music. They have the best song on this podcast. But they, originally from Galway, I think they live, in Nashville now. I'm not telling, don't hold me to that yet right now, but they're just spectacular. Lots of banjos and Irish tunes, a little bit of bluegrass thrown in. It's a great sound. Check them out. Wolf and Clover are a fairly newish band to the Irish and Celtic Music podcast, but they've got some really solid music of both traditional songs and tunes, and they just are wonderful. You got to check them out. Socks in the Frying Pan are a trio from County Clare, Ireland, and they had some great, their first album was just so good. I was playing their music all the time, loving everything on it, and then never heard from them, so I couldn't get them back on the podcast. Finally, I got them back on, and I'm so happy I did because their music is just brilliant. They're just a wonderful band. And finally, I'm going to share with you a 6-piece band from the Czech Republic, Pontoon. Pontoon is a band that I've been following for years. They were one of the earliest submitters to the podcast. They had a track called Congress Reel, which is just amazing. But their latest album is fantastic as well. And I want to share with you. So they did a recording of Dirty Old Town. Dirty Old Town is a song written by Ewan MacColl. It's a wonderful song, but their version, I think, is one of my favorite things. It is not pod safe. It was written by someone that I can't get permission to play the song for. So I'm only going to play a clip of it, and then I'm going to play a set of tunes also from their album, One for the Road. But I hope you enjoy that because it's just so good.
I met my love by the gasworks wall, dreamed a dream by the old canal. I kissed a girl by the factory wall. Dirty old town, dirty old town. Clouds are drifting across the moon. Cats are prowling on their beat. Spring's a girl in the streets at night. Dirty old town, dirty old town. Heard a siren from the docks, saw a train set the night on fire. I smell the spring in the smoky wind. Dirty old town, 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 dirty old town. I'm going to make a good sharp axe, shining steel, tempered in the fire, will chop you down like an old dead tree. Dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town.
that was from One for the Road. Go get a copy of that album. Go download it, whatnot. It's a wonderful album. And it grabs their Czech Celtic heritage, which is really cool. It's a little bit of all over different places of music, but all very fun, upbeat music. So it's great. Go check it out. So finally, last thing I want to talk about is investing in a greener St. Patrick's Day. It's always fascinating to me how creative people are when they come to finding innovative ways to combat climate change. We think about, recycling and picking up trash and maybe cutting back on certain items, plastics, or I'm starting to use soap shampoo. There's some shampoo that's just soap. It's a soap bar, so I don't have to use a shampoo container. It's really cool, right? I like it. But there's some of this is very minuscule, and how effective it is, or it feels like it can be just a little thing, just a tiny thing that I can do. But one of the more creative things that I've seen recently was through banking. So the fossil fuel industry is funded by investors. And what happens if investors refuse to invest in them because they don't want to support the fossil fuel industry? Well, we see greener energy become a thing. It all comes down to money, right? There's a campaign in the UK asking people to green their investments. And thinking about that, I just actually went to a mutual fund that I have and migrated it all so it no longer supports fossil fuels. Again, my small mutual fund will not make a huge difference, but imagine if just you and I made this change and we had the exact same amount in our pension. Now imagine what if 10 people on my mailing list or on this podcast did the same thing. They stopped investing in fossil fuels. 30 people? What if someone on here is a podcaster and they talk to their podcast into the same thing as well? Or maybe a YouTuber. Just imagine if we multiplied the pension times 30 and we start to make a real impact. And that's really what it takes. It takes each of us being aware and making small changes to force banks to stop investing in fossil fuels and start investing in the health of our planet. It makes it a little greener, which, St. Patrick's Day, green. And since it is St. Patrick's Day, it's a good time to play St. Patrick Never Drank, especially when we're writing a song talking about drinking songs. This too can be a drinking song, even though it's basically saying St. Patrick never drank. Which isn't actually probably true because, again, St. Patrick was a monk, and during the time period, monks usually had a little bit of beer. I think that was one of the things. If nothing else, I think beer was used to kill the bacteria, the alcohol to kill the bacteria in the water. So it might have been watered down, but it was still, but nevertheless, it's not the green the drinking that we typically associate with St. Patrick's Day. So this is a song written by a funny musician called Spaff. He sent these lyrics to me and I set it to music. It's from my CD, Kilted for Her Pleasure.
I am a young Scotsman from America. The kilt is my pleasure, it's true. You can call it a skirt, but your lady will flirt. If she has a chance, she'll leave you. That's why I'm kilted. Kilted. The mystery of what's under there. You're kilted. Kilted. Kilt inspectors will beg to know your third leg is as free as the fresh morning air. I have no red hair, but my skin is quite fair. But it does nothing to show off my pride. But my Scottish family tree I wear on me, and it makes the ladies giggle and sigh. When you're kilted, kilted, the mystery of what's under there. You're kilted, kilted. Kilt inspectors will beg to know your third leg is as free as the fresh morning air. I feel like a man, both noble and strong, when I dance my kilt swishes in time. But I must confess it's for the ladies I dress, and undress too. Is that a crime? When you're kilted, kilted, the mystery of what's under there. Yes, you're kilted, kilted. Kilt inspectors will beg to know your third leg is as free as the fresh morning air. Don your kilt, my good Scottish friend, and let your flag blow and unwind. If they ask what's beneath your kilted sheath, tell them it's lipstick they'll find. When you're fresh morning air. Yes, you're kilted, kilted, with the mystery of what's under there. You're kilted, kilted. Inspectors will beg to know your third leg is as free as the fresh morning air.
Before I finish up, I want to let you know that if you sign up to my mailing list, send an email to pubsong@kiltfather.net, or you can just head on over to pubsong.com. But when you are signed up to my mailing list, you get a chance to win a free CD autographed, if you like. I'm planning on autographing each and every one of these. So now, the way it's going to work, it was actually a little bit of a challenge. I did my first one a couple weeks ago, and I said the 7th person to email back. And then all of a sudden I realized I need rules. I need to figure out how to do this, because it also took a few days for 7 people to email back. So, and not many people emailed. I don't know if how many people are just not reading the newsletter or what, but if it's going to be a thing, I need to, work out some rules. So here's how it's going to work. When you get the newsletter, you hit reply, you say, hey, you can put some comments about what you think of the podcast or my music. That's something that I can quote, would be great. You don't have to. You can just say, hey, I will respond and let you know that you are in the queue, but I may or may not tell you what number you're at. I haven't figured that out yet. You can email once a day. So if you really want to win a CD, I suggest you do it. The latest one, I'm asking people to be the 17th person to email back. And if I don't get 17 people, then I will roll it over to the next newsletter. So right now, I'm offering a free copy of How America Saved Irish Music. Obviously, if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, you might not be able to be a part of that competition. Just depends if we make it to the next section, or if I decide to do another CD giveaway next week. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. We're going to finish off with Wild Mountain Time. This is from my CD, The Bridge. Thank you so much for listening. I will be back in a couple weeks with another edition of this podcast. Talk to you later. Sláinte. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, the summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower by unclear and crystal fountain, and all around the bower I'll pile flowers from the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will roam country o'er through that dark land so dreary, and all the spoils I find I'll bring to my darling dearie. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? If my true love, she won't come, I will surely find another to pull wild mountain thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to poor wild mountain thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? Oh, the summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to poor wild mountain thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to poor wild mountain thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to poor wild mountain thyme, all around. Will you go, lassie, go? Will you go, lassie, go? Will you go?
Thanks for listening to Sci-Fi Pub Songs and Stories. This show is brought to you by my gun runners on Patreon. Every week, you'll get a new podcast or song or video concert. You'll save 25% off all merch in my store. The show is edited by Mitchell Peterson with graphics by Miranda Nelson Designs. You can subscribe and listen to the show wherever you find podcasts. Sign up to my mailing list to read the show notes for this episode and find out where I'm performing. And of course, please tell one friend about the podcast. Word of mouth is the absolute best way to support any creative endeavor. Have fun and sing along at pubsong.com.